Il disco,
The album. Well, I suppose we can say that at last the album is out. I first wanted to have an album out a few years ago, but you know, for many reasons regarding work, the right ideas and the conditions meant that it was only possible now. Why did I want this album? Well, this year I will have been in the music world for many years, and so I wanted to have some sort of closure to mark this.
Come chiudere il cerchio di questi primi 10 anni e per farlo il mio sogno sarebbe stato quello di coinvolgere.
My dream was to involve the people who in one way or another have been important to me and have helped me get to where I am now.
Ad arrivare fin dove sono arrivato ora.
I'm referring to Eric Marienthal, a world-famous sax player who plays with Chick Corea, Barbra Streisand, Elton John and many others. Umberto Tozzi, who I will have played with for 10 years this year, and Andrea Mingardi, who had quite a Pygmalion effect on me. Andrea and I started working together when I was still a young teenager, and so I've known him for many years.
Hanno reagito in maniera splendida.
All three reacted wonderfully and accepted the proposal with great enthusiasm.
Devo aggiungere. E la cosa bella di questo disco è anche un po' della musica.
The great thing about this album and about music in general is that the more you put into it and the more you take risks, the more satisfaction you get out of it. In the sense, you get to meet new people, plan and do new things and get new energy.
Anche per questo motivo, oltre a queste 3 persone, ci sono altri.
In addition to these people, there are also the new entries that play on the album, and I'm referring to Lorenzo Di Finti, a great pianist who comes from Milan and who introduced me to Eric Marienthal, a good friend of his. He asked me if I knew him, and I said, well, I've heard of him, but I don't know him personally. Well, you should, he answered, and from there it all started. Seeing as we were the only 2 Italian musicians in the album, we decided to do a cover version of an Italian song, Scrivimi, by Nino Buoncuore. Lisa Shanks, another great singer, with whom I had the great pleasure of meeting in Amsterdam, where I recorded the album, was the singer who introduced me to the producer of the album, Thomas Bank. What can I say about Thomas? Well, it's an interesting story, in the sense that we met on Facebook because at that time I was going through the phase of looking for the producer, the right studio, well, the right team for the job. Anyway, I wrote to him in quite an informal way, telling him about my plans for the album. I asked him to get in touch with me if he was interested.
In maniera abbastanza informale, dicendo guarda, io avrei intenzione di fare questa cosa. Se sei interessato, fammi sapere.
He kindly replied by saying that he liked the idea, but at that moment he was busy. He told me to get back to him in a couple of months, and then if he liked what I had written, he would send the auditions to me.
Adesso, però nei prossimi 2 mesi qualcosa riesco a fare, se quello che scrivo mi piace, te lo mando. Così è stato, puntualmente 2 mesi dopo.
That's precisely what happened. 2 months later, he sent me 2 auditions that were blank, with no melodies. I recorded over them with the first things that came to my head, and then sent them back to him. He called me saying that he liked what I had done, and that we could go ahead and start working together. The following week I was in Amsterdam, and the rest, as some would say, is history. We then started to think about the album structure, the tracks, who to call, etc. And that's how Souls United began.
Ed è nato Souls United. Peraltro sono stato 2 volte contento di collaborare.
I was doubly pleased to work with Thomas, firstly because he's a great producer, but also because he gave me the chance to get to know his city, Amsterdam, and introduce me to all those great musicians who work in that area and who played on my album. The rhythm section of Candy Dulfer, those involved will know who I'm talking about.
Ritmica di Candy Dulfer, gli addetti ai lavori sicuramente sanno di chi sto parlando.
The horn section currently with Caro Emerald, and I could go on to say plenty of other names with whom these musicians have collaborated with. We had great fun with the guests. I left the song choice up to them because I wanted them to feel comfortable in a music scene when playing someone else's song, and what emerged was interesting.
E sono emerse delle cose interessanti.
Umberto played a Beatles song, Here, There and Everywhere. Andrea a song by Blood, Sweat and Tears, while Eric and I both agreed on a memorable 50s track that was played by James Brown, Louis Prima and many others, called Night Train, where we tried to produce sort of a sax battle, which used to be done years ago.
Night Train, nel quale abbiamo cercato di riprodurre quello che si usava fare anni fa.
We had a great time in the recording studio and I hope you have just as much fun listening to it.
Questo brano e spero che vi divertiate anche voi nell'ascoltarlo. Oltre alle cover, all'interno dell'album ci sono...
In addition to the cover songs, there are 5 new releases on the album, and I'd just like to tell you the story about one of them. We were looking for a track that had a Motown feel to it, and we had in mind a famous song called Mercy, Mercy, Mercy by Cannonball Saxes, a really great sax player, but which was in fact written by Joe Zawinul. We hadn't realised that his nickname is the same as the instruments I played. And that's why we decided to keep this original title after the song was written.
Per questo motivo abbiamo poi deciso, una volta scritto il brano, di mantenere questo titolo.
This year, we'll be doing our promotional tour, and to be honest, I can't wait because I really want to play these tracks. Anyway, for any further information or details regarding myself or the album, etc., go on to www.giannivancini.com or go to my Facebook page, Gianni Vancini /Souls United.
Stay tuned!